Hello there, it's Carrie Rhodes here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and another paper crafting video. Today I will be playing with the new Village Collection dies designed by Tim Holtz for Sizzix. I want to say a great big thank you to scrapbook.com for sending me these dies and mini embossing folders so I could create with them and share projects with you on the day they are released. This is the Village Collection thin dies. You can see here there are dies to create 2 different houses as well as additional dies you can add to those to create an assortment of different buildings. You can see here this comes in 3 packs. One pack will be the house dies. The next pack is like the little windows and doors and awnings and chimneys and those types of things. So this is the set with the dies for the houses. And there are 2 main houses, house 1 and house 2 in this die set, but then there are additional pieces you can use to create an addition onto your house. You can also create an entryway. You can add those onto either of the 2 houses. You can also create like a steeple if you wanted to make a church or a school. You can also create the manor in the bottom right corner. These are based on dies that used to be Big's dies and have since been retired, and now they've been reimagined into this kit of amazing die goodness. I mean, you really can just let your imagination soar with this, and I had so much fun playing with it. I decided to make some fall themed houses that are going to go on my tiered tray in my kitchen area. So here's a look at these 3D texture fade mini embossing folders. That is the Cobblestone, this is the Lumber, and this one is the Brickworks. Now these embossing folders are roughly 3 inches by 5 inches, and they are super duper thick because they are 3D. You are going to get like amazing texture and detail with these embossing folders, and what fun textures you can use on these houses or so many other projects. It shows you on the insert how to run them through different machines, but I'm going to show you these here all embossed so you can check out the actual texture that is in these and the detail. The fine lines and the incredible detail of these is so yummy. I love them. I don't know which one's my favorite. They're so very cool. All right, so when I run these through my die machine, I have the Platinum 6 by Spellbinders. So what I did is I started with my platform. I took my embossing folder with paper in it, and I laid it on there. I used my rubber silicone mat. You could also add a shim in there if you needed it. And that's how it worked for my machine. I ran this die through that is house 1. It says it right on the die. I had trouble getting it to show in the video right there, but there's 2 labeled house 1. And I ran those through in that rust color, and then I ran a 3rd one through in a white color that's going to be my brick layer. There's 2 different pieces for the roof. There's a chimney. You can pick the doors you want. You can pick the windows that you want on yours. There's windows you cut into the house, and there's dies that you cut separately to create a frame, and the same with the door, and lots of variations of that. There's also a shutter you could put around this window. So the possibilities are limitless to your imagination. I'm using some Neutrals Smooth cardstock from scrapbook.com because it has a white core, and so you can do some really fun things with it. Also, you can die cut out the door and 2 windows at the same time. There's 2 different dies for this, and then you can also do that at the same time you die cut out the house. But either way, whichever works best for you. Now I'm going to use these small 4-panel rectangle windows to die cut out my windows on the ends of my house. So there, I'm just showing you could lay those in, die cut them at the same time. Now this white piece right here, it's actually like a cream colored cardstock. I'm going to cut off what I don't need, and I'm going to run this piece, which already has my door and my windows, I'm going to run that through this Brickworks embossing folder so that it's going to have the look of brick for the front of my house. Now I am matching these to some pumpkins I already have on my tiered tray so that I can really tie the whole look in, and I just thought it was really fun to make fall themed houses. So I glued down that brick panel, I glued on my door, and now I'm adding the frame around the door. It just gives it extra detail. I really like that look. And then I'm using some precision glue to glue down the frames to the windows. And again, you don't have to use this. It's all up to your imagination, but it really makes those windows pop. Behind the windows, I'm gluing down a bit of vellum to give them a nice window look. And then I really wanted to add some color distressing to my panel, so I pulled out antique linen and just dusted the edges of my brick with this tiny little makeup style brush, and that will give me a little bit more depth and interest to that layer. I like to, I don't know, add extra ink layers on things to give them more interest. So I'll be doing that throughout these houses today. I'll be making 3 of them. All right, so I'm putting the house together now. I am using a combination of 1/8 of an inch double stick tape and liquid glue. And that's gonna ensure that I have really good adhesion, and it allows me to wiggle things if I don't get it right on the first time. So see here, I am sanding this paper that I cut the roof with because it's from that Neutrals paper pack. Like I said, it has a white core. So if I sand it, I'm going to reveal some of that white, and it gives me another kind of distressing where, like with ink, you get a darker distress look, and this gives you a lighter distress look. So you're going to put some adhesive. I did, again, double stick tape in 1/8 of an inch and glue on all of those tabs except the 2 on the pointed part of the roof for the front panel. And then you're just going to stick that roof down to them. You can put your hand or a crease tool on the inside and press the tab up against the roof. Now this is the piece you want for this part of the roof that's going to jet out in front, which really gives this a special feel versus a house that would just be 4 sides without any extra pop outs. It's really cool. All right, so now I am folding up the little piece that creates the chimney, and there is a tiny piece that you can wrap around the top to add more detail to the chimney. I love those little details. So I'm gluing that on while it's folded just flat. That I found that to be much easier to glue that little strip on. There are 2 tabs on the bottom of the chimney. By the way, there are 2 chimneys, 2 different sizes, and I think a third one even for the manor. 87 dies, y'all. There's choices, lots of choices. All right, there is 2 different dies that create shingles for your roof. So I decided I wasn't going to put them on, and then I'm like, oh, I really have to try it. So I die cut them out, and I'm going to work around this part of the roof, which was fine, really. Then I didn't have to worry about gluing that piece of the roof on with all those little tiles behind it. But it didn't work when it came to the chimney. So I will end up having to pull the chimney off of the house and stick it back on. It did leave a little paper behind, but it's okay because it's all going to be covered up with that roof. Now for the top, there is a die that cuts out this folded piece of paper, and that is to cover up the seam when you use the roofing. So you don't have to, really line up where the panels come together. So I found that to be very clever and very helpful. So I'm just gluing that chimney back in place. And then I wanted a little bit more of that brickworks on my house. So I die cut the house out again, just those side panels. I didn't have to cut out the whole thing. And then I'm going to run those through with that Brickwork embossing stencil folder. It's a folder, and that will create some side panels for the house as well. So I'm just leaving the back plain, but you really could dress that up too. Mine just aren't going to show, and so I focused on the front because I really wanted to make multiple houses today. So I saw this in one of Tim Holtz videos where they took a little batting and tucked it into the chimney to create smoke. I thought it was the cutest thing ever, and I had to do it. I think it just brings it to life. Also, these houses are open on the bottom, so you could very easily put a battery operated tea light or mini lights inside to really bring this to life, and I think that would look really fun on a tiered tray. I took a gold gel pen and just colored on a little doorknob for my door to finish it off. For house number 2, I am using the dies for house number 2. There is this really long skinny door, and there's several pieces, but one of them has a little bit of the outline where the die cuts that's lower than the rest. and that is going to create a score line so the door could open. So that's the one I'm using to die cut this out, and you can see I'm die cutting the door and all the windows in one pass of my die cutting machine. I also did a second panel with the same windows on the side of the house. And then I have the roof, and I want to create my house to be wood grained. Now it doesn't fit this way, and I wanted the lines of the wood paneling to go horizontally. And so I decided I would run this through by lining up that score line with the edge of the embossing folder. And then I can run it through a second time, and it didn't matter if it exactly lined up because they're different sides of the house. Now, remember, this paper is white in the inside, so when I sanded it down, I got a little bit of that white showing through, and I thought that looked super cool. So I did that to both, but this does weaken the paper. And this is 85-pound cardstock that I'm using here that has the white core. So really it's going to break down the paper a little bit more than if you used a heavier weight cardstock. So since I wanted vellum behind those windows, I decided it would be best to go ahead and glue this down to a piece of vellum. And that would help to make it more sturdy, and it would also give me the vellum look behind the windows. So that's what I did. And then I went ahead and glued on those window frames to finish out the look of this house. I added the roof just like I did before, the chimney, and I went with that kind of teal colored door because again, I'm going with the colors in my little pumpkins. So I'm adding that cute little smoke in the chimney that's just like polyfill. And now we'll move on to house number 3. This one might be my favorite. I'm going to add the entryway to this one. So all of it is house number 1, but I'm adding that entryway to it. I'm also going to add a shutter on the sides of the house. So I am just lining that up where I want it to go and drawing a line so I know how big to cut my strips of cobblestone that are going to go around this house. And then I drew out the squares for the window, and I could, kind of line up my window that I needed to cut out of the house. So here's that little entryway. You're just going to fold it on its scored lines, and that's what's going to attach to the house on the front part that has the pointed roof in the middle section. I drew lines where that was going to go because I also wanted to add these teeny tiny windows to the front. I think these are the smallest windows in the die set. There's 2 of them, so I can run them through at the same time. I love that so much. So now I'm just adding some double stick tape to that entryway piece, and I will also use glue because it's my favorite. I love the ability to be able and move that around if I need to, especially on something like this where it's kind of important that things are lined up nicely so the roof fits on and all of those things. So I'm folding on all the scored lines and then gluing it down. I kind of thought I was going to glue my cobblestone piece on first and decided against that. So if you see, there's a little extra glue there, but I thought the entryway needed to go on first, and then I'll add my roof. Now remember, this is the one that has the notch cut out of it, so it goes behind that pointed piece. So I glued that on, and then I'll add the second roof piece, which now has 2 different areas that it connects to because of that entryway that sticks out. I think that's such a clever design. So I'm running a little bit of I think it's vintage photo across the top of this cobblestone, and then I can put it all the way around the bottom of my house. So I'm just cutting it off where it runs into the entryway and then added strips along the sides and the back to complete the look. And I'm also going over the seams to just add a little bit more color there. I cut out a 3rd window frame of the smallest window and put it right above the door. It just needed a little something extra there. And then I'm also adding some ink here along the roof to it needed like a shadowy look, some distressing, some aging, and I love how it turned out. I did a little chimney with that same cobblestone paper that I used around the bottom of the house, added a little smoke. I did forget the vellum. I'm going to have to go back and add that in, I think, because I really love the look of the vellum behind the windows. But here you can see all 3 of the houses I created today. I loved playing with those mini embossing folders and creating these. I think you could have so much fun with this die set for Halloween, for Christmas, any time of the year. I have lots of ideas with this set, so you might stay tuned to my channel because I think I'll be breaking these out again soon and sharing some unique ideas for you. So if you happen to purchase these, you can always check back here for some inspiration. And you can find all the things I used in the description box below, and most of the things at scrapbook.com. They do carry all of the new Sizzix releases from Tim Holtz. I love that. And I will see you guys again very soon on the next video. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe because I do have new videos all the time. And I love to share my creations with you. So I will see you guys then. Happy stamping! Bye!